The town of Mwendapole was a quiet place, but also with many sad stories about terrible road accidents. The main road of the town was full of potholes and was known for speeding drivers, many of whom were drunk and reckless. Brian Mwakazi, popularly known as Brian Speed**, was one of the young men who loved speed and fun. He owned a Toyota Mark X and was known for playing with danger on the road. On Friday night, Brian and his friends gathered at the famous club in town, Club La Vida, where alcohol was poured like water and music was played loudly. "Today we celebrate. No sleep," Brian announced as he raised his glass. His friends cheered. The alcohol continued to be poured, and as the hours passed, intoxication took over their minds. But as they celebrated, his close friend, Kevin, looked at Brian with concern. "Brian, you've had too much to drink today. Please don't drive." Brian laughed contemptuously. "You're so scared, bro. I'm the king of the road. Nothing can happen to me." But Kevin tried again, but Brian already had the car keys in his hand. "I'll get you home at lightning speed," Brian said sarcastically, then climbed into his car, his eyes filled with drunken pride. Brian started the engine. Blaring music blasted from his speakers. He immediately increased the speed, laughing as he passed the corner at an unusual speed. The city was asleep, the road empty except for a few streetlights. A strong wind blew through his car windows, but that didn't give him any warning. As the speed increased, Brian increasingly ignored every traffic rule. He ran a red light, honking his horn contemptuously as he enjoyed his speed. But suddenly, in front of him, a small car appeared from the corner. The time to avoid was very short. Brian slammed on the brakes, but a loud crash shook the night sky. Darkness reigned. The sound of the hospital machine woke him up. When he tried to raise his head, a sharp pain hit him hard. He realized that one of his arms was bandaged, and one of his legs was in a heavy plaster cast. Looking aside, he saw his parents sitting silently, their eyes red with tears. "You are healed, my son," his mother said in a deep voice. But before Brian could answer, the doctor came in and said in a sad voice, "You are healed, but one of your friends did not make it." Brian's heart stopped for a few seconds. "Who? Kevin?" he asked in fear. The doctor shook his head slowly. Brian felt his world shatter into pieces. No more pride, no more joy at speed, only regret remained. 2 days had passed since Brian had woken up in the hospital, but he still felt like he was in a bad dream. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw images of the terrible accident, the bright lights of the car in front of him, the screeching of brakes, and then a terrifying crash. But what hurt him most was the fact that Kevin had not recovered. His mother had stayed with him in the hospital every day, but she never said anything about Kevin. It was as if they were trying to avoid the conversation. Finally, on the 3rd day, his father came and sat beside him. "Son, we have to accept what happened," his father said in a deep voice. "Today is Kevin's funeral." The words hit Brian like a thunderbolt. He tried to get up from the bed, but the pain in his body was too much. "The funeral? Today?" he asked weakly. His father shook his head. "Yes, but you can't go. The doctor said you're not well enough yet." Brian felt tears welling up in his eyes. It was the first time since the accident that he had cried. For the first time, he felt the weight of his mistakes. He had caused the death of his best friend. The days slowly passed. Brian was released from the hospital after 2 weeks, but there was no joy in him. He walked with the help of crutches, feeling not only physical pain, but also emotional pain. Everyone in town talked about his accident. Some of them openly blamed him. That young Brian killed his friend in a drunken stupor. He thought speed was a game. Now let him see the consequences. These words burned his soul, but there was no way to escape them. He was guilty, and there was no way to bring Kevin back to life. One day, Brian decided to go to Kevin's family's house to apologize to them. He stood in front of the door, his heart pounding with anxiety. When Kevin's mother came out and saw him, her eyes filled with tears. "Brian, why?" she asked in a broken voice. Brian couldn't answer. Tears welled up in his eyes, and for the first time, he knelt down and said in an apologetic voice, "I'm sorry, Mom. I don't know what to say. I did a big mistake. I have no defense. I killed my friend. I have no peace." Kevin's mother looked at him for a long time. Then, she took a deep breath and said, "Brian, you lost your friend, and we lost our son. Nothing will bring him back, but I want you to learn from this mistake. Don't let Kevin's death be in vain." Those words pierced Brian's heart. He knew there was no real forgiveness for his mistake, but he felt he had to do something to fix his life. A few weeks later, Brian returned to the garage where he had worked before the accident. He could no longer drive, but he wanted to work with cars in a new way. He decided to start a campaign to raise awareness about alcohol and reckless driving. Every Friday, he spoke to young people in the city about the dangers of drinking and driving. He told them his story, hiding nothing. "I thought I was the king of the road. I thought nothing could happen to me. But now, I've lost my friend, and my life has never been the same again. Please, don't make the same mistake I did." Slowly, people began to listen to him. Young people became more cautious, and even older drivers began to slow down. Brian never forgot the accident. Every day, he woke up with memories of that terrible night, but instead of wallowing in grief, he decided to spend his life saving others. He had once been Brian Speed, a speed enthusiast. But now, he was known as Brian of Wisdom, a preacher of road safety.